Great, so welcome. This session about what's titled 10 Principles of Good Communication. Come on in, you're welcome. 10 Principles of Good Communication. And these, in fact, were written by, and I can share the text with you, very dear friend Kathleen Griffin, who sadly died about 3 weeks ago. And she was a founder member of Catholic Voices. And of the 3 founder members, she was the one doing the communication skills. So she's got a background in media. So these 10 principles were developed to help people in the heat and the light and the intensity of media interviews. So that's the starting point. But the reason I'm sharing them with you at the beginning of an apologetics course is because most of them apply to all of our ordinary communications. All of our very normal encounters that we've been thinking about, whether it's talking to friends, whether it's being in a classroom, whether it's going home and seeing a family and a religious discussion starting, whether it's meeting a stranger on the bus, whether it's having a deep discussion after lunch at Newman House, whatever. Yeah? So not all, but most of these would apply to any of our conversations and communications, and see how they apply. There's 10. Look, you should never do a list with 10 in. It should always stop at 3 or 4 or 5 at the most. So I'm going to do 10 and break the first rule of communication, which is never have more than 3 points. But we'll split it up with a gap. I'll just run through them and give a little gloss on each one. And I will put these online, so don't worry about memorising them, and I'll put the text online as well, because Kathleen's gave me permission to share this. So imagine you're in this encounter, conversation starting. Number 1, look for the positive intention of the other person. Look for the positive intention. In other words, instead of just hearing this topic and thinking, right, I'm going to get my arguments in, I'm right, they're wrong, try to see what it is that's deep within what the person is saying. Now look, first of all, you might share a lot. You might broadly believe the same things and there's a bit of disagreement on the edges. But even if you think that you have quite fundamental disagreements with this person, try to, believe, have the inner conviction in yourself that something true and valuable is motivating them. Trust their good intentions. Yeah? It's not, here's a bad person with a wrong answer and you're the righteous warrior to save them. You're 2 people of good faith with good intentions who are seeking the truth and love the good. So if they are passionately believing whatever they do, and you might think that their belief, their argument is wrong, but what is motivating their passionate belief? And nearly always it's something good and positive. So look for that positive intention. What is the value that they care about? Look, obvious thing here, a scientist thinking that you're being irrational and superstitious as a Christian, what do they care about? They care about truth, don't they? Truth and reason and logic. And so let's honour that together. Another classic controversy, pro-life issues, yes? You think someone is wrong in their pro-abortion views, okay, that's a difference of views, but what are they caring about? What do they value? They value, it might be many different things. It might be a woman's rights. It might be caring for the most vulnerable in society. Any number of reasons which, when you can detach yourself from the heat of the argument and the things you do disagree about, you can honour and identify the value. So look for the positive intention, trust their good faith, and being very pragmatic, try and find some common ground. Just say to someone, look, let's try and find out what we agree on, or say to someone, I can see that you really care about this. What is the thing that you really care about? And give them space to express it, and work really hard to discover it. And don't do this just as a trick, really believe it. So when you do get into a discussion, an argument, you can say to them, or if you're speaking out to a group in a debate, I recognise the thing that's motivating this person and I share the same values with this regard, but it leads me to a different conclusion because of another thing I'm bringing in. Yeah? I care about the woman's life. I care about the vulnerable, the tragically vulnerable rape victim, absolutely, no less than this other person, but I also care about the life of an unborn child, and I think that they are both human lives that need to be honoured and loved and respected somehow, and we can try to love them both somehow, even though it's hard. Yeah? So look for the positive intention. Second principle of good communication. These aren't particularly in order. Shed light, not heat. Shed light, not heat. In other words, your anger, your frustration, your negative emotions, your defensiveness, that negative energy and emotion is not going to help very much. Attacking the other person isn't going to help very much. A sincere passion can be sincere, certainly. Don't hide your sincere passion, but simply it's not going to help to lose your temper or get angry or attack the person. We're trying to shed light. We're trying to shed truth. We're trying to throw, I don't just mean logical truth, although logical arguments are important, but we're trying to bring, yes, some clarity to a situation, some point of view that no one's heard, or we're trying to bring a beautiful illuminating example that sheds light, or a story that helps someone to see the truth of what we're explaining. We're sympathising, we're empathising, we're open and loving, and all the human virtues that you would want in any relationship, basically. Yeah? If you're talking about anything difficult with someone else, you would hope that they would be kind to you, thoughtful, respectful. Just as you can catch faith by witnessing the lives of people of faith, you can be illuminated by someone's light, by their words, by their kindness, by their examples. And so it's not just about winning a logical argument or about knocking someone over with the passion of your convictions. Shed light, not heat. Okay. Third principle, think in threes. Think in threes. This is a time-honoured way of preparing for any discussion of a big, deep, complicated topic, or a hard, controversial topic, or the simplest possible topic in the world, is to make sure, and it's almost a test for yourself actually, it's not just to have a clever argumentative trick, to ask yourself, what's the three most important things I would like to say about this? What's the three most important things I believe about this? It forces you to be simple. It forces you to find out whether you do understand what you believe or not. Yeah? Think of anything at all. Why do you come to Mass on Sunday? Give me three reasons. What are the three? Why do you believe in God? My question is not, what are the three best arguments that Thomas Aquinas presents for believing in God? My question to you is, in your preparation, why do you believe in God? It might be, my granny loved God so much that I've never stopped believing. It might be, every time I go into a church I just feel a sense of peace. It might be, I read a big book by Thomas Aquinas and he proved to me that there has to be a first cause to the existence of all things in the universe. Okay, there's three reasons. Think in threes, because it forces you to be clear, forces you to be simple. Also, it gives you three things, three thoughts to fall back on, so that if in this conversation you're getting lost, you're getting over emotional, you're getting distracted, you can just regroup and say, okay, hang on, either I've been getting very confused and I want to refocus, or you've been going off in lots of different directions, so just let me gather and collect my thoughts, and these are the three things that are most important. And just whether you're in a BBC studio being interviewed, or whether you know that tomorrow you're going to meet that friend who keeps pestering you about this topic, yeah? Why do Catholics never believe the Bible? Well, hang on, that doesn't sound right. They keep pestering me with this topic, I would like to say to them actually, well, hang on, first of all, Catholics do read their Bible. Secondly, well, hang on, we have 11 minutes of biblical readings in Mass every Sunday from 4 different parts of the Bible. That's actually quite a chunk of significant Bible stuff every week, isn't it? And thirdly, here's the app on my mobile phone that I use to read the Bible on the bus every morning. So don't tell me that Catholics don't read the Bible. You see, you've got 3 things that you really care about or that you know are true, and when you see the person, you're dying to get them across. So, think in threes. It gives you clarity, simplicity, it gives you something to fall back on. If you just get completely lost, say, look, I don't know the best way of explaining this, but these 3 things are important to me. And in that sense, you're witnessing to your faith. You're not trying to win an argument. And they might not be connected. Think in threes. Everyone who's been trained in media and communications does this. Yeah. And an interviewee, I've done lots of media, you know you've only got 90 seconds. You've been asked 2 questions, you've had 70 seconds. You know you've only got 20 seconds left, and you haven't got a single one of your main points in. So you say, look, I know we're going to finish soon. Can I just say one thing? And you go to your most important thing. So at least you've had a disastrous interview, but you've said one of the 3 things you wanted to say. Great. The 4th principle of good communication. People don't remember what you said so much as how you made them feel. People don't remember what you said as much as how you made them feel. Now, you might not like this. You might say, well, it's about truth, and I've said some amazing things, and they should convince this person I'm speaking to. But the reality is that from most of our encounters and conversations and being in groups, and try this week, watching people on TV and on YouTube and listening to them on the radio, what we go away with is not a set of 3 arguments. It's an impression. It's the impression that person and that conversation made on me. Yeah. That is, I don't know what the figure is. I need a psychologist or a psychiatrist to tell me. That is, I guess, 80% of what we remember. Not 50, 80. Yeah. You don't often go away from a TV interview, a debate with a politician, a debate at the student union, a talk, remembering a long list of ideas and key points, do you? Sometimes you do, especially if someone's a really clear teacher, especially if you're open to it. But often you don't. You go away with an impression. So, that's not to say that only impressions matter, but it's to say that one of your jobs is, in the best sense of the word, to help people feel good about the conversation and the situation. I don't mean to flatter them, I don't mean to be false and artificial, but just you're having a good, loving, honest conversation, you're an attractive person, you're being kind and loving and, as we heard earlier, engaging and interesting, you're listening to them. They think you're a person that's taking them seriously, they feel trusted, they feel you are trustworthy, they've enjoyed the 2 minutes or the 3 hours in the bar you had yesterday evening. There's a positive impression of you and of the conversation, so that in itself is a job well done. Yeah? Because all they go away, remember, I had this really intense argument about the existence of God, or about the terrible situation in the church of X, Y or Z, or about Christian belief in evolution and the truth of Genesis, or about marriage and sexuality, or about any number of the hot topics that you've given me on your lists. They don't remember the arguments, their views haven't changed, but they've gone away thinking that person had integrity. And they had a point. I'm not sure I agreed with them, and I'd like to talk to them again. Yeah? So that in itself is a good thing. But secondly, within the conversation, the fact that that you are making people feel good, properly good, that this is a good conversation, a good situation, that then allows them to trust you more and listen to you more, so that the good points you are making and the good stories you are telling sink deeper. People are more open to you because it's a good conversation and a loving one and a friendly one. Okay? So the phrase that Kathleen developed with Catholic Voices is that we need to create a culture of encounter. That we're really encountering the person. It's back to the look for the positive intention. Shed light, not heat. We're having a genuine conversation. We're drawing people into a bigger truth and a relationship and a friendship. And if nothing else, we've loved another person, they felt loved, we've been loved, we've gone away closer together and more open to the truth together. But if someone goes away feeling battered or argued at, or they've just got your anger, or they feel defensive, they just close ranks intellectually, don't they? Fifth point, fifth principle. This is another classic one. Show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. Another foundational principle of good writing and good speaking is that people prefer stories to lectures. They're more convinced by experience, stories, illustrations, anecdotes, not just meaningless icebreakers for the sake of it, but stories, illustrations, examples, anecdotes that bring alive the truth that you're trying to explain, instead of just abstract logical arguments. It's not an argument against abstract logical arguments. Sometimes you need to say, okay, why do we believe in God? Well, hang on, we need to sit down and nail this. Why do you believe the moral teaching that you're discussing, the point of controversy with another Christian? Why do you believe we can pray to the saints, for example? Classic Catholic Protestant disagreement. Well, you need to give some solid, coherent arguments from reason and common sense and from the teaching of the Bible. You can't just give some nice examples. Oh, my granny used to pray to the saints. That's not going to help your friend. But you do need some really good examples and stories and anecdotes, because this helps to make things real for people. People are often moved and convinced by these examples and these stories. Yeah? Don't just say, we need more hospices. That might be true. Give an example. You might never have been to a hospice, but say, truthfully, don't make up. Say truthfully, I saw a thing on the TV about a documentary about a hospice, and the kindness and the love that was shared with people, and the way that people's lives were given meaning and hope when they were just about to give up. It really changed them. You're telling a story. Don't just tell an abstract story about, don't just say, well, prayer works because God is all powerful and he listens to our prayers. Do say that, but then give an example about how you prayed and it really helped you and something happened. Or give another example about how you prayed and you didn't get an answer and you found it really difficult, but that made you go deeper in your prayer. You're not a spokesman for a remote corporation. As Kathleen wrote in her article here, you are a delighted disciple, rejoicing in what you've discovered and what other people have discovered. So tell in appropriate ways your story, especially because we're not talking about mass media now and radio interviews. We're talking about you with friends, with colleagues, with family, with fellow students. You are the subject. Why does this Catholic believe in God? Why does this Catholic believe in prayer? Why does this Catholic believe in marriage? Yeah? So talk about what the Church believes, but talk about why it's important to you. Talk about people's lives who've been changed that you know. Illustrate, give examples. It's nearly always really, really helpful. Okay, right. I'm going to press the pause button. Okay, so part 2, we've had a little pause for discussion there. Just the second half, the next 5. The 6th principle of good communication is remember to say yes. Remember to say yes. This is a key communication principle, and it's especially important when we're talking about faith and Christianity and the Catholic Church, because we're so often painted as if, as Christians, as Catholics, we are against things, aren't we? And often we are saying that we are against things. And in fact, so many of the 10 commandments are expressed in negatives, aren't they? You shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not bear false witness. Okay, these things are true, but remember that within or behind every no, every prohibition, is the defence of a positive value. The truth itself, and the Church and the Bible and Catholicism, the Catholic Church in particular, we are saying yes to something. There is a positive. We're back to this thing about remember the positive intention, only we're talking about remember the positive intention for ourselves. The Church is only against some things because it is for something else, some positive value, passionately and profoundly. We are trying to be not negative doomsayers, but experts in humanity who can see and spotlight and highlight what it means to be truly human, to be truly loving, to be truly loved. We seek, in philosophical terms, the good and the beautiful and the true. Yeah? So everything that is good and beautiful and true and truthful is of value to us. And everything, we will say many positive things. Love one another, love God, love your neighbour. If we do say negative phrases in the negative, which is necessary sometimes, yes? No to euthanasia. We do not believe in sex before marriage. And we do not believe in the just use of indiscriminate weapons in war. Sorry, we do not believe in the use of indiscriminate killing during war. Yes? This is the argument against mass killing and atomic weapons from the Catholic Church. There's lots of knots there. What's the positive? It's the positive of marriage. It's the positive of life. It's the positive of innocent life. You shall not, let's give a really stupid, simple one. You shall not miss Mass on Sundays. Yes? What's the positive there? It is good to go to Mass on Sundays. It is beautiful. It is amazing. It is life-changing. We meet each other. We meet the Lord. We're forgiven. We're fed by His body and blood. We're lifted up into the life of the Holy Trinity. We hear the Word of God. What's not to like? Yes? So yes, there are prohibitions, but never forget that it is not about just being a moral policeman. It is about loving the true and the beautiful and the good, and how to help people to see what it is that we are loving and proposing. Okay? Remember to say yes. Number 7, compassion counts. Compassion counts. Remember to be human. Remember to have a heart for the person that you're talking to, and to recognise it's similar to some of the other points we made. Shed light, not heat. Remember the positive intention. So remember the fact that this is a person here who, especially in some of the controversial topics, might be deeply moved and motivated, and might be hurt, might be suffering, might have profound questions that are tearing them apart, or that have been a great burden on their conscience, or that they're really wrestling with. Remember that this is a real person with real human questions, and possibly with real human wounds and sufferings. And you might feel as if you're having an argument with them and trying to convince them of something, but first of all you're trying to love them and listen to them and be empathetic and compassionate and sympathetic. And remember, especially if they are passionate about something, that passion might be motivated by something they feel very deeply. They feel very deeply positively, a passionate love for something they think you're attacking, or they feel very deeply in the sense of they have been hurt or wounded by something, classic things, people leaving the church because they've been wounded by the behaviour of a parishioner or a priest or someone who has. So you might not discover this, but have the sensitivity to what's going on with someone, and if you do get to the difficult topic, stop and be sympathetic with them. Say to them, look, I'm sorry this has happened to you. This is terrible. I understand why you care about this so much. Change the subject away from your clever arguments and be human. Understand the anger and hurt and woundedness that is in the heart of many people, many of us, including me and you, but understand if there is a particular wound or anger or hurt that lies behind this tense conversation that you're having. It's especially important because the frame that people put around the church is often that we are an unfeeling institution, isn't it? You need to demonstrate that you're a person, someone who loves. That again is a good thing in itself. It's part of our vocation as Christians. But again, if you are compassionate, sympathetic, empathetic, then when you do say, I really understand what you're saying, and I need to say to you, this is why I care so much about what's important to me, or it's precisely because you've been so wounded that I believe this truth is so important, not to make your suffering worse, but to make it better or to stop it happening again. 8th point of good communications: avoid robotics. Avoid robotics. This is what we were talking about in the break a bit, wasn't it? Don't just come out with 7 clever arguments that you have learnt. Don't just come out with statistics that you think are going to knock everyone down. The way politicians can just rattle off statistics and lists of policies that have been started. Speak human, Kathleen would say. Speak in human. Speak in ordinary language. If you have to say something complicated, be a good teacher and explain it. Say, look, I'm sorry I have to use jargon, but this is why we believe this is what this means. So don't use language or arguments that are too complex. Obviously, we heard earlier, be simple, be straightforward. Don't use, as I've said, formulaic arguments that you don't understand, because they'll just sound formulaic, and your face will go blank. Your face will go into the expression of, I don't actually understand this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Don't, as we said in the break, just rehearse an argument in order to hide behind it. If you're going to go and read up on something, it's in order to express what you really believe. You need to internalise it a bit, not to have an argument as a defence mechanism, a mask, to get in the way of you and the other person, to stop you engaging with them. Yeah? You might go and learn some good arguments, but it's to help you express what you love and care about more, to help you to be more real. Don't use arguments or even truth as a mask for your own vulnerability. And in fact, part of the things that you're taught in media, and it's true with conversations with friends, is you need to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, I don't understand this. It's okay to say, look, I don't know why we believe that as Catholics, but I'm a Catholic and I believe my faith, and let me come back to you tomorrow with an answer. Don't be afraid to say, I just know this is really important, but I'm not the best person at explaining it. Don't be afraid to give an example instead of an argument. Don't be afraid to say, look, I'm finding this really difficult because I care about it so much, and I'm just feeling very emotional, and I'm feeling a bit defensive. That's my problem, not yours, but do you see, be you, be vulnerable sometimes. It's not a trick to play, it's the truth. 9th principle of good communication: it's about witnessing, not winning. It's about witnessing, not winning. You want people to see what you've seen. You've witnessed to a truth, to a belief, as best you can through your arguments, yes, through your stories, through your own personal love for what you're talking about, why it's important to you. You've loved someone. You are a witness. Again, it's not just an argument that sits on a screen 2 feet in front of you that you project. You, with your whole person, your whole friendship, and this whole discussion, whether it lasted 2 minutes or 2 hours, are witnessing to something. That's what matters. If you try and witness with love and honesty, that is what will make an impression on someone. Don't worry whether you've won the argument or not. And in fact, if you simply win an argument, that won't change someone's heart very much, because they will feel defeated. Do you see? If you think you've won, that means they feel they've been defeated. That's not the point. But if you've witnessed to something true and beautiful and good in a loving, human, compassionate, simple way, and you love them and they love you a bit more at the end, everything you've said in its holistic sense of witnessing will touch them. It will change them. It will make an impression. It might make an impression as they walk home. It might in 3 years' time make an impression when they look back on this and think, wow, that person really touched and moved me. You don't have to beat anyone in an argument. You have to help them. So just remember that. I'm doing my best to witness to my faith with all my weaknesses, and I've done my best. Be what you want to represent. This is the way of Jesus. This is the way of the early Christians. The 10th principle of good communication: it's not about you. It's not about you. Right? You are there in the heat of the moment thinking, I'm afraid, I'm self-conscious, I don't know what to say. Will I say the wrong thing? Will I make a fool of myself? Will I embarrass myself, my family, my church? Do I look an idiot? Will they laugh at me? Look, just forget all this nonsense. It is not about you. You're there to share something, to witness to something which is not you. You're there to witness to the truth and beauty and goodness of God and of the Christian faith. So do the best you can and get out the way. Stop worrying about yourself. Stop being so self-conscious. It doesn't help. And in fact, to not be self-conscious allows you simply to be you, strangely. And in a strange way, it allows it to be about you, but not in an ego way, in a here is a human being way. Nerves can help. Adrenaline can keep you focused, but excessive jitters can be sign of an unhealthy self-consciousness. The ego tricks us into believing that we are the focus, but we want the truth to be the focus, don't we? We want God to be the focus, the Christian faith to be the focus. It's not about you. It's very liberating to know that. You'll still feel shy and nervous and self-conscious. If you made a fool of yourself, you will still go away thinking, I made a fool of myself. And you did. But it doesn't matter. So what if you made a fool of yourself? It's very liberating. Yeah? Okay. That's the 10 principles. I'm going to add one more. Because these were written, they were written for Catholic voices, but they were written for a secular context, in effect. I've talked about faith a lot, but really I'd want to give another talk, and we will do this. I forgot. I haven't got my list in front of me. We will do a talk about this, but I want to put this on here in case you think this is just about skills. Right? So the 11th principle is that God is in charge. God is in charge. And this is a whole other story, but I'm just flagging up for next time. Everything I've said, these 10 principles that Kathleen wrote, that you can take away, they're all helpful in themselves. They're certainly helpful as a package. But under everything, remember the importance of prayer, of you praying for yourself, of you praying for the people that you're talking to before, during and after. That if you're trying to do the best you can, God will help you. That if you feel it's all rubbish, don't worry, because God's providence is looking after everything, and to trust that He's given you and the other person just what they needed, even if you feel a bit stupid. To trust that the Holy Spirit is speaking to this person in their hearts. It's not actually ultimately about your arguments convincing them. It's about you witnessing to the truth, beauty and goodness, and the Holy Spirit speaking to their hearts and minds and their consciences and helping them to go deeper. That God loves this person infinitely more than you do. He loves you infinitely more than you do yourself. So if you're doing the best to share your faith, to explain your faith, if you're trying in all your ordinary Christianness to be loving, to pray for the people you're with, to go away from the conversation and in your night prayers to say a little prayer for all the people you've met, especially the person you had that big argument with, it's all in God's hands. So do the best you can and leave everything to Him. And actually, this is another topic. How do we approach all these principles? How do we approach all of our communication and our apologetics as people of faith? And I think that is another night that we'll come back to. But I'm glad I put it in brackets at the end, in case you think it's just about skills. Lots of skills we need, lots of experience, lots of confidence, but we need God's help above all. Thank you very much.